Welcome back. The Ad Hoc Committee of the National Council of Provinces, which is deliberating on the Protection of State Information Bill, says it's confident that it will finalize the much-debated bill by Tuesday next week. In a meeting of the committee last night, the ANC made several concessions on the bill, which seem to have gained some approval from opposition parties. Yet many of them say they're still likely to vote against it when the bill is considered next week. Colleague Lukanyo Tsalata attended yesterday's proceedings and compiled this report.
The Protection of State Information Bill has been with this ad hoc committee just short of a year now, and members of the committee have spent many hours, sometimes well into the night, arguing, debating and trying to convince each other on how the bill should read when done. Last night was no different, as the ANC made several new proposals, among them to allow Chapter 9 institutions such as the Office of the Public Protector and the Auditor General access to classified information without fear of prosecution.
If the public protector or the auditor general is investigating something where certain information should be found or is contained in a document that would have been classified at a particular point, then this law should not restrict him from getting him or her from getting that kind of information. That's why we are bringing that particular clause here.
Opposition parties welcomed the new proposals, but claimed that they were still likely to vote against the bill when it's considered by the committee next week, as it still fell short of a public interest defense clause.
43 is an attempt to protect someone from prosecution. 19 deals with forcing the head of organ of state to declassify, but there's no link there.
The committee is expected to vote on the bill next week Tuesday before it's tabled in the NCOP on Thursday. Lukanyo Tsalata, View from the House, Parliament.
Now, to talk to us about progress made and some of the remaining challenges in reaching consensus on the bill, we are now joined by the chairperson of the NCOP's Ad Hoc Committee, which is deliberating on the bill, Mr. Raseriti. Good morning and welcome, sir.
Good morning, Hassan and viewers.
Having gone through the bill clause by clause, is the committee close to reaching consensus on the contentious issues?
I think, to be honest, so far I can say that the committee had finalized the bill. Of course, we all understand that different political parties have got different views around certain clauses and how they read these particular clauses. Others are influenced by political expediency, others are influenced by political opportunism, but in the main we have seen tremendous progress being made. And maybe just to make the point that the extent to which the ANC has engaged with this bill was not in actual fact to appease the opposition, but rather to say what is in the best interest of the people of the Republic of South Africa. So it cannot be seen to be the ANC wanting to appease the opposition, and if the opposition disagrees, therefore the bill is not agreed to.
What are the areas that you've managed to reach consensus on?
Well, there's a whole range of them. One of them, for instance, yesterday was the entrenchment of the constitutionality of the bill, because that's one of the key issues that the ANC started to deal with, to say, how do we balance this bill? Because there must be a recognition and acceptance that the country, and in particular government has got, or the state has got a responsibility to protect its citizens. And one of the things that the state has to protect its citizens is to protect its information. That's one aspect that we had been able to achieve in the bill. And secondly, is also to say how, whilst you protect the state information, you also don't deny citizens access to information. And as you strike that balance, I think that is one of the major things that we have been able to achieve, because the third leg will then be to ensure that the bill is within its alignment. It's within the context of the Constitution of the Republic.
There's been contestation about the public interest clause. How far is the work of the committee in reaching common ground on that?
So far, I can say it is all about politics now. It is not about the principle. It is sheer political opportunism. It has got nothing to do really with the actual issues that are on the bill. Because if you read the current phrasing of Section 43, you read Section 19 of the bill, and you read also Section 10 of the bill, you then realize that yes, the bill says you do have the right, you can have access to information, but there are processes that needs to be followed. The bill also says you cannot classify information wrongly, because if you do that, if you cover corruption, if it is realized that you have classified information for all the wrong reasons, there are penalties to that. Section 43 also then creates a balance and an environment to say that should you be in possession of classified state information, this is the procedure that you need to follow. Nowhere in the bill is it now saying that if you find yourself to have laid your hands on classified state information, that you will be sent to Robben Island.
There's been questions or other concerns about protection for whistleblowers and harsh sentences for those who have published classified information. How far is the work of the committee in resolving those concerns?
That's where I spoke of the balancing. The right of the state to protect its citizens against espionage, against information peddling, and also to protect its own information for its own advancement and development, to protect its own information to deepen democracy and to strengthen the capacity of the state to be able to drive transformation and improve the lives of our people through information, and the protection of that information is very much important. So whilst you do that, we also had to balance that against access to information. Because one thing that we did in the bill, as it reads now, it protects the buyer, it protects the Labor Relations Act, it protects what is this? But
Protected disclosures.
Yes, the Corruption Act of 2000 as well. And if you read it, you then get a sense that, but this bill is not saying that South Africans do not have access to information, but rather lays the basis on how that information can be accessed, how that information can be utilized. Right now, even yesterday, the proposal that has been put through by the ANC recognized, for instance, your Chapter 9 institutions and how these Chapter 9 institutions can have access to classified information. But in so doing, it strengthens another clause within the bill to say that under regulations, then the minister will then be given the opportunity to regulate how that information, after being accessed, should be managed, should be kept, and should be processed.
Looking at all those concessions that have been made, all the progress that's been made, opposition parties are still saying they're most likely to vote against the bill when it has to be considered. Are you concerned about that?
No, I'm not concerned, because it's something that has been coming for quite some time. They have made it clear from the beginning, even after the positive and constructive amendments and engagement that have been put across. They have been very much adamant to say that they are not going to agree with the ANC. They are not going to agree with the bill if you don't have an exclusive a clause that is referred to as the public interest defense clause. But if you ask them, what is public interest defense clause, if you read section 43, if you read 19, if you read 10, and balancing all these things, what then becomes, how do you define public interest defense clause? They cannot explain that. Hence I said, it's political expediency. It's political opportunism, and there is no way that there will be an agreement to that. And for the sake of the environment that we're operating in, which is about politics, it is only acceptable that they will use this opportunity for their own advantage, but not forgetting that they are missing a very good opportunity of showing what is constructive opposition in the country, and how then to place themselves within that democratic dispensation.
Mr. Dow, we have to leave it there for this morning. Thank you for joining us. Well, that was the chairperson of the NCOP's Adhoc Committee deliberating on the Protection of State Information Bill.